All right, hello everyone. We are now continuing in Likuti Torah, and we're talking about what Judaism is and how the Torah enables this, and especially the secrets of the Torah, the Kabbalah of the Torah, and that's really the idea of Hasidus. What is Judaism? The purpose of Judaism is to improve the world, to heal the world, to strengthen the world. To churn the world up, to make everything start circulating, that we see that there's a creator, we see the creator loves us, and the creator is infinitely good, and that he's infinitely incomprehensible, and he's infinitely alive, and that when we attack, and he's also infinitely demanding of us, he demands of us, but he's also infinitely empowering us that we can fulfill these demands. And that's the whole reason why we're created. We have this responsibility to the creator and to ourselves and to the world to improve the world. There's things that have to be dynamic. If you sit and you do nothing, and you're satisfied with your situation, then that's the opposite of Judaism. So Judaism comes to make everything alive, moving. Huh? The nature of any living thing is that it grows. It grows physically, spiritually, it grows. That's the whole idea of salt. Melach, because salt contains in it all these opposites and all this movement. And we see that when you put salt on something, so it sweetens it up or it can make it more bitter. It does these two opposites. Salt can destroy things. Salt can also preserve things. Right? It preserves things. Again, two opposites. Salt is powerful, very powerful, but it comes from water. Right? That's where the water is inside the salt. So salt comes from water is kindness and love, and fire, the sharpness, that's from bitterness. So it's all these opposites and it's all churning around. That's the power of the Torah. That's why God gave the Torah into the world. He gave the Torah into the world so that we shouldn't be complacent and we should realize our responsibility, and that's why God made man. It says the first right in the beginning of the Bible, God put man in the world to work on it. And the world that was called heaven on earth, Gan Eden. It was called heaven on earth, and nevertheless God put man here in order to improve the already seemingly perfect heavenly world. It wasn't perfect because God did not yet receive pleasure from the world. Huh? Okay, now this is the message of Judaism. We have all these Eastern religions that they also believe that there's a superior power, but it doesn't interact with people. Then we have all these, they say the Greek and the Roman and these things. They believe that the gods do interact, but they're not infinite. They don't create us. They're spiritual beings. And so here we have Judaism that says that God is infinitely above the spiritual. He creates the spiritual, but he's infinitely involved in the physical. And the place which is most important to God is the physical. But on the other hand, the physical is 99.999% lie. It presents itself to be the only real existence, and it's not. It covers over truth. It covers over love. Covers over meaning. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so now we have another thing about, one second, where is this? Oh, here we go. Ready? Listen to this. This is really getting good. So we said before that therefore oh no, I went too far. Down. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So we said before that the melach, the letter words for melach, salt, melach, is also the same words as cholem, which is the letter, a Hebrew letter. It's actually a punctuation. Same thing like a vav. It's like a vav, and it comes from above to below, and also goes from below to above. That's what a cholem is. So he says that's the whole idea of the salt, that it raises everything up, and that's why you should not have salt in matzah, because matzah is simple, basic faith, where you're not changing anything. You're just accepting what there is. You're accepting God. You're accepting this. But that's not the goal of Judaism. That's the beginning. The basis of Judaism is simple humility. But the goal of Judaism is that you have to, on this simple humility, you have to build a I just want to say, build yourself to be able to change the whole world and change yourself. That's the idea of the salt. Okay, I hope you say according to this. Yesh Lomo, we can understand. Gam can also. And we said before that this is the secrets of the Torah. The secrets of the Torah make you crazy. They make you crazy. They make you crazy because you suddenly realize how, on one hand, tremendously important this world is, because God gave the Torah in this world, and simultaneously how tremendously important the spiritual worlds are. The secrets of the Torah, and how this world is a big bluff. It's a big, how do you say, mirage. So the world is not really a real place. On the other hand, the Torah explains, especially Kabbalah Chassidut, that our job is to make this world and to reveal the true reason why God is creating it, not just to fool us and to we should get through this maze, but to transform the world into the place that God wanted it to be when He created it, and He's creating it all the time, God, to make it revealed. So therefore, the secrets of the Torah, they make you realize, well, this world is the main thing. No, it's not so. The heavens are the main thing. This world is a big fake. It's not really so. So we've got to get to the heavens and say, no, it's not. That's not so. The heavens are not the point. It's a big mistake to go around the heavens. That was like none of an aviu. We got to be in this physical world and fix up the physical world. Oh yeah, physical world, be here. No, the physical world is not the main thing. The spiritual. So it's going back and forth all the time. That's the idea of the secrets of the Torah, and that's why they're compared to salt. And that's why it says that in the holy temple you should not omit salt from the offerings. I hope you say according to this, we can also understand Masha Pirish Rashi, that which Rashi explains. Let's make this bigger here. Also, what explains Rashi. Morning, Menachem. What Rashi explains, Shasfanim, that sailors, Nikra'u, are called Malachim. Another name for a sailor is a malach. Huh? Malach. It sounds the same thing as like a king, and also sounds the same thing as like an angel, but it's spelled differently. This is malach with a chet. So it's the same exact spelling as salt. Why are the sailors called malachim? Why? Because shemahapchim et hamayim, because they churn the water. B'moshetot, with their oars. Shemanhigim et asvina, that they conduct the ship. They lead the ship, and they have oars. What do oars do? Oars, they don't go that deep. They're on the surface of the water, but they churn the water so that the top water goes down and the bottom water comes up. Pirush, what does it mean? Ki yam. So that's what it says. Ki ko amar Hashem anoten biyam derech. This is the one, this is what God says. And who is God? The one who put a path through the sea. It's in Isaiah. Pirush, what does it mean? Ki yam, what is the sea? What does it mean God put in the sea a path? What is the sea? One second, let me make this bigger yet. Oh. Pirush, ki yam, the sea, that's talking about all the upper worlds. All the spiritual worlds, they cover over God. They cover over what's in. By Kodesh Baruch Hu, and God, notein bo, He puts in the spiritual worlds derech, a way. Sheyochlu aneshama, so that souls can go up there into the spiritual worlds. In other words, that you can start to feel who you are. It's known that like only like 1% or something of the soul is our personality. We're aware of it. And as we wake up in the morning and we're aware that we're here, and what we're really aware of is only 1% of what we really are, of who we are. And what we really are, our soul is a spiritual thing. Soul is a spiritual thing, right? See, after a person dies, then his soul goes up his soul. But while you're in life, you don't feel your soul at all. Feel your soul that it keeps you, going, your hands and your arms work. That's just the smallest aspect of your soul. Hainu, aliyadei asfinot, by means of the ships. What? Okay, so God makes a path through the sea. What is the path through the sea? Right? You want to go from America to Europe. There didn't used to be airplanes. Airplanes are a new thing. How long have there been airplanes around? Right? Airplanes have been around for what, 150 years? Airplanes have not been around that. Says, what do you want to go? It used to be you had to go through the sea. So what's the sea? By means of ships. So here we're talking about this. The sea is the upper spiritual worlds. And God, you want to go through the upper spiritual worlds. So God gave us vehicles to go through the sea. And what is that? That's spiritual sea. What is that? Ships. What are the ships that we go through the upper sea of the upper worlds? Halabushim, the garments of Torah and the commandments. And then through them, mitalim biyam, you can go through the sea. Namely, you can elevate the soul from Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya, these low worlds, to Atzilut, to the world of Atzilut. Now, Atzilut is another way of saying holiness. Atzilus is godliness. Like it says in Birchat HaMazon, in Biuri HaZohar, in the book Biuri HaZohar from the first Rebbe of Chabad, over the Sheyesh Neshamot, there are certain souls that are called fish. Nuni Yoma, the big tzaddikim. They're called fish because they swim, they live in the spiritual worlds, even when they're here. Ba'al derech mashamayim, just like it says, like Moses. It says that Moses is called Moses, Moshe, ki minamayim mishitihu, because he was drawn out of the water. That Moses was living in a totally different awareness of what reality is than we are. Like we say, by us, 1% of our soul is aroused. By Moses, 99% of his soul was aroused. She'em be'etzem ma'alma deskasya, that these are souls which come mostly from the concealed worlds, neshamos tatzilus, souls of Atzilut. Okay, and therefore the souls of, but the souls which are the lower level of souls, which are us, she'em miyabasha, that they come from the the dry land. What does it mean, dry land? The dry land is separate from the sea, and the creations on the dry land, they live separate from the dry land. They're not included in the dry land. The same is the big tzaddikim, they live in the oneness of God. They feel God is one. That's the fact. God is really one. And we feel separate. We feel that God is this big, if he exists at all, he's very concealed and we don't have any idea what it is. And we have to be separate from him. That's what the creations on the dry land. Me'alma diskalia, we live in the revealed world. We, lo yachlu lalot, we cannot go in the sea, in the upper worlds. We have no access to the spiritual worlds except by means of these garments. And the garments are called arvin, they're called ships. And that's the commandments. Sham aniot la'alechum, like it says in Psalm, 106? Their ships go. Ayin Sham, look over there. Okay. Zeu al derech, that's what it says. Moses went inside of the cloud. Moses went into the cloud with these tremendously high spiritual levels that only Moshe could go into. Like it says in Torah Or, we learned about this before. Okay. So what's the point? What's the Rebbe want to say? The secrets of the Torah, and especially if they're used in conjunction with the commandments, that's what's called the kavanah, the intention of the commandments, is that enables us to get a feeling of what real reality is and why this world is being created. And how important this world is to God, but we can't feel it unless we have an appreciation a little bit of the spiritual, what God is and what the commandments are. So that's why the sailors are called malachim, malach from less of salt also. The same letters as salt, because they churn, they make everything move. They make the hidden worlds revealed here in this physical world. And that's the way it's supposed to be. That's why Adam was put in the world to work on it, to make more truth revealed in this world, how important this world really is to God. More important than the spiritual worlds, but you have to have a little idea what the spiritual worlds are first. Oh, and also there's another word that means hanotin biyom yam, that God puts in the sea. We said God puts a path through the sea. We brought the sentence from Isaiah. Shu milash, and this is a derech. This is like a path, shamamshich bo, that not that you travel through, but it's like a pipeline that you draw down from above. That God enables us by means of the commandments, not just to elevate our soul into the upper worlds and have more consciousness of the upper worlds, but also to draw the upper worlds down here into the physical, which that's really the purpose of the whole thing, namely by means of Yesod Zer Anpin. A little bit of Kabbalah over here. Yesod simply means, Yesod means connection. A connection to the emotions of God. Shamam Shech Bod, you can draw down from the intellect of God, which that's the Torah. Then in the Chachma, then in God's wisdom is put the infinite light of God, or Ein Sof. So there's two things that are going in the sea over here. We're talking about the sea, are the secret, the worlds that are concealed from us, the godliness which is concealed from us, that's the sea. So in order to go through the sea, you have to have ships, and the ships, we're going to see, they have to be manned by a sailor. That's us. That's going to be us when we learn the secrets of the Torah, which that's what we're doing right now. Is by means of that can elevate the soul, but it also brings down blessing to the world. That's what the rabbis say, like, Achrei Hashem Elokechem Telechu, after God you should go. Ki af efshar, is it possible for a basar v'dam, for a human being, live basar v'dam, for a human being, l'holech, to go after God? Excuse me. Achar HaKodesh Baruch Hu, Oto Shekatuv, that's what it says, Bo, Beyom Darkecha, through the sea, God makes a path. Vayita Hashem Elokim Gan Be'eden, like it says that God planted a garden in Eden. God planted a garden in Eden. Eden is the spiritual worlds. Af Atem, and also you do the same thing. What is it? The intention is like this: that the Torah is called, God planted a garden, and He put there a tree, right? In Gan Eden, that was the tree. They put the tree of good and bad, knowledge of good and bad. So to put the tree of life. Now Gan Eden, that's the upper spiritual worlds, and God planted a tree. That's the tree of life. That's the Torah, and it's called the garden also. The Torah is also called the garden. Why garden? Because there's 53 chapters in the Tanya, Gan Sidorim, 53 chapters of the Torah. Also the commandments, Ha'etzei Hagan, they are also called the trees of the garden, and the trees of the pardes, of the orchard. By means of doing the commandments and learning Torah, Yavoli, you can come to the level of Achrei Hashem Elokecha Telechu. You can go after God. What does it mean? You can actually travel and get closer to God. Like it says, Biyom Derekecha, Bekain Aim Yalu, and also the Jews can elevate by means of this to be a path through the sea. In other words, to bring godliness down into the world. And this it says, Ne'amar, it says, Darchei Noam. It says in Proverbs that the ways of the Torah are ways of pleasantness, namely that it makes pleasantness, godliness revealed in the world. Okay, so this is the idea of a salt, and why sailors are called malachim, which means the letters of salt, because they churn the world up, that they make us realize that what we're living in, the world that we're living, this cruel, confusing world, is cruel and confusing because we don't see the Creator that's creating the world every instant. And we don't see any purpose in the world. We don't feel our responsibility to God. When we feel our responsibility to the Creator to improve the world, then that makes the world a pleasant place. It actually, God reacts to our efforts. Now, the spiritual, we're talking about true spirituality. Worshipping the golden calf. Idolatry is also a spiritual experience. The people worship the golden calf. It wasn't just a psychological thing that they wanted to, whatever it is, to resolve their Oedipus complex or their inferiority complex or whatever they wanted. It was actual, true feeling of pleasure and spirituality. Idolatry is spiritual, but it's false spirituality. It's misleading. It's misleading. It's leading you to think that there's something other than God. And that you worship. And the fact there's only one God, God is the creator, that's all there is. There are, they say, the Torah, the commandments, there are tzaddikim that are given over to God that teach you and inspire you and enable you. But our whole purpose is, our purpose in the world is to connect to the creator, and the creator is creating everything. He's creating us and he's creating everything. So to reveal the creator and the creation is something like revealing the soul and the body, like a person being asleep and waking up, or a person being sick and getting healthy. And the letters of salt are also the letters of chalom, which means chalom tachlimeni, means to make me strong, make me healthy. That's the whole idea of the Torah. The secrets of the Torah be called. Now, the Torah can also be taken in a superficial way. In a superficial way, in which case a person is not really alive. It's like a person that doesn't feel any purpose in life. He's got no reason to wake up in the morning, so he just drinks beer all day or something. So he's alive, but he's empty. That's what the Torah is also. The Torah can't, without any meaning, without any godliness in it, so it's there, it's alive, but it doesn't do its job. It doesn't churn around. So that's the purpose of the Torah, is to elevate the world, to reveal the creator, and it's done through the sea of the spiritual worlds, and to make the creator being revealed in the world, which is also done through the sea of the spiritual worlds. That's what it means. Preserve the way of God. Shamur derech havai, lasot tzedakah v'mishpat. Like it says, look what it says in this in another place. In the Tikkun, in Torah or. Okay. But it's funny. But these sfinot, these ships, which we said, what are the ships that go through the sea? That's the commandments and the Torah. The ships and these garments that take us to these spiritual worlds. It's not enough just to have a ship. You have to have a sailor. The sailors, they're the ones that conduct the ship. Like it says in the Zohar. Dabra b'yama. There comes one, I think, a leader, someone who conducts us in the sea. Who is that? Who are notain b'yam derech? The sailors, they're the ones that make the ships go through the sea. The ships are the Torah and the commandments, and they make it go through the sea of the spiritual worlds. What do the sailors do? Al yadei, by means of, that's me and you, by the way, the sailors. There, by means of shemamshich bo or, that we draw down light and shefa and blessing from the infiniteness of God, like we said before. Umamtik, and this sweetens hagvuros. This sweetens the severity of the world, right? Like salt, you put it on meat and it makes it more tasty, draws out the blood. The blood is severity, takes it out. On the sea, what is the severities of the sea? The waves. The waves that you ever see, a stormy sea, terrible. As I then, davka yochlon lasfina, then the ships can go through it. So here we have, this is a big metaphor, right? But it's a metaphor for life. And the metaphor for life is that we're on the dry land and we want to get, let's say, to another dry land. So what's in the middle? So the dry land we're in is the physical world. And the dry land we want to get to is we want to have the creator. Connect this world to the creator. So we have this reality, which is our dry land, which is obvious, it exists. And we want to get to the true dry land, which is the creator. That's true reality. In order to do that, you have to go through the sea. The sea is the spiritual worlds, which are impossible to go through alone. You can't swim across the Atlantic Ocean. You can't swim the Pacific Ocean for sure not. So they have ships. And so what are the ships over there? That's the metaphor. What's the metaphor for a ship? The ships, the sea is the spiritual worlds. The ships are Torah and the commandments. And the Torah and the commandments that enable us to go through the spiritual worlds, appreciate the spiritual worlds, in order to appreciate more the creator. But in order to do that, you have to have a sailor to direct the ship. And the sailor, that's me and you, when we learn the ideas of the secrets of the Torah, Chassidut. Or in simple language, what are the secrets of the Torah? We're being created, and God is creating us. And it's a tremendously complicated and beautiful system by which he creates us, but that's us. We're being created. We're infinitely close to the system, and we don't see it. We don't feel it. And by appreciating more, it's like we're living in the world where beauty is really there, but you have to learn music or something in order to appreciate the beauty. But the beauty is there. It's not created by the music, right? The beauty is there. Music just partakes of this beauty. The same thing as godliness is everywhere. You want to partake of it, you have to have a little bit of appreciation of the spiritual worlds. And that's done by means of learning the secrets of the Torah. And that's what's hinted at in Yerushalmi. It says, Hanoten b'yam derech min ha'atzeret v'arachag. It says where is this? The path is from Shavuot, when God gave the Torah. Atzeret is the holiday of Shavuot, when God gave the Torah, until Achag, which is Sukkot, which is the day of happiness, holiday of happiness. Okay, how is this? What's this got to do with anything? Al Yadei Sha'azai then is drawn down Derech Hashem. There's drawn down the path of God. Ki ba'atzeret, because in the holiday of Atzeret, which that means the holiday of Shavuot, the Torah was given. And by means of the Torah, there are the ships, the vessels to go through the sea. Uba'avodah, and service, this is like what the rabbis say, that the commandments have to have intention. What's the intention? You have to have a sailor on the ship. Hainu Kamaim Razalik, it says, Shekabla love ol malchut. The sailor has to accept on himself, which is us, the yoke of godliness. The kingship of heaven first, and afterwards you can accept unto yourself the yoke of the commandments. So first of all, you have to feel that there's a commander. That's this idea of the salt, the secrets of the Torah. That's accepting on yourself the yoke of the kingship of heaven. And that's why there's a Shema Yisrael, we're saying Kriya Shema, and giving your soul over in oneness. And by means of this, you can draw down the path of God, and that's the sea from above to below. That's going to be the holiday of Sukkot. We said until Sukkot, that's when they pour the water. We'll see. Kiyam, the sea, it says it's similar to the heavens, and etc. to the Kisei HaKavod. That's the commandment of tzitzit. It reminds us of that, the blue that's on the tzitzit. Nowadays, most people say there's no blue. But anyway, it says, this is the Zmano Mishiyakir Ben Tchilat V'Lalavan. Says that's when you say Shema, is when you can recognize, it's a Mishnah in Brachot, the time when you can, when you're supposed to say Shema, start to say Shema Yisrael in the morning. It says you're supposed to say 1/3 of the day. When is it 1/3 of the day? From the time when you recognize the difference between blue of the tzitzit and the white of the tzitzit. So this is what's going to take us through the spiritual worlds. What's the blue of the tzitzit? It says the blue that's similar to the sea. That's the spiritual worlds. And by means of this, you draw down noten b'yom derech. This is what draws down the path through the spiritual worlds from above to below. Like it says, b'yom derkecha, through the sea is your path. Ubishvilcha, and afterwards, and this is the way. And then after that, you can do the old mitzvahs. First of all, you draw godliness down from above. You get inspired. And then when you have the inspiration, then you do the commandments. Then, by means of the commandments, that they are arbin, they are the ships. Hainu aniyot, the ships, yochalim, the souls are able to be an elevation through the sea. You have more an appreciation of the Creator. And that's the goal of Judaism, that the whole world should recognize the Creator. It's not that you should feel spiritual. The spiritual is just a ladder to appreciate how important this physical world is. This is where God, all the spiritual worlds, that's just the process by which you can get to this physical world. Okay, and therefore the ships are for sailors are called malachim. What's malachim? Malachim, they're called malachim. That's a word for a sailor, but it's also from the word melach, from salt. Because what does salt do? Salt sweetens up what's bitter, and it makes bitter what is sweet, changes everything up. That's what Rashi says. Ugam ki lashon taruvus is also mixing up. A sailor is from the word malach. The word malach also means to mix things up. Shemahapchim et hamayim, that they churn the water. And here we're saying the water are the spiritual worlds. So the spiritual worlds are infinitely closer to us than we can possibly imagine. But they're just covered over, and we don't see it, we don't feel it. And therefore, in order to, how do you really feel, and not to make a mistake and get into idolatry and false spirituality. And that's what the Torah and the commandments are all about. V'yesh l'parish, we can explain, that this can, and by the way, this is also relevant to the non-Jews. The non-Jews, Gentiles also, they're supposed to worship only God. What's God? Who is God? What's God? So we have the 10 commandments. First two of the 10 commandments say, I am God that took you out of Egypt. The God that took the Jews out of Egypt, that's the same God is the God that's giving the Torah. And the fourth of the 10 commandments is God's creating the heavens and the earth. 6 days he created the heavens and the earth, and the seventh day he rested. So the God that's creating the world, and the God that took the Jews out of Egypt, and the God that gave them the Torah, and that's the God of all mankind. It just happens to be the Jews have more commandments than the non-Jews do. And the non-Jews are more connected to making this world an orderly, good place. And the Jews are connected to making this world a godly place. But Yesh Leferish, we can explain that the taruvos, this mixing up that we do by means of learning the secrets of the Torah, in other words, the godliness in the Torah, and then we do the commandments that churns things up. This is what draws down also the godliness from milamayla lamata, from above to below also. And also from below to above. That people on the dry land, namely us simple people, we can go up and raise up liot hasaga, a little bit of understanding in the concealed worlds. So that's the whole idea. That's, by the way, the whole idea of getting forgiven for your sins. Because people do sins because they don't know that there's anything other than themselves. Right? They know that there's God, but it's not really anything alive. Nothing really alive. And if they get into God being alive, then it's very easy to fall into idolatry, the golden calf. So people just don't know about the oneness of God. They don't feel it. And once they do feel the oneness of God, then they won't be able to do sins. Listen, people can still do sins if they want to, but all those people that did will not want to. They'll say, well, I didn't know that. I didn't know. God is creating me. I thought there was something else other than God. I never thought of it. God is creating me. God cares about me. God reacts to what I do. Right? That's really, God is higher than the spiritual. He creates the spiritual. God creates me. He loves me. He cares. I didn't know that. That's the secrets of the Torah. And that's the path that we want to make through the spiritual world. So even the most simple people that think that all there is just me, and if there's God, so it's written in some book or something, I know I'm going to die. Maybe I'll see what after I die. But to feel that God is really creating me right now, that's a whole different world. That's all different. So it says, even the people on the dry land, it says, they'll be able to feel godliness. Okay. But you have to have the Torah, you have to have the commandments in order to feel godliness. But there's a story like this. It says that the Jewish people, when they left Egypt, so they ate matzah, right? But then the seventh day when they got into Egypt, they walked through the sea alone. They themselves, they didn't have any ships. They didn't have any, water, whatever it's called, water balloons or lifesavers. They personally went through the sea. Kriyat Yam Suf, this is the level of Elyona. This is even a higher level. This makes the sea into dry land. Then you don't have to have the ships. This is like it says it's going to be in the raising of the dead, that you won't have to have commandments in order to make this world more holy, to reveal godliness, because God will be revealed. The commandments will still be, but they'll only be commandments to do what God wants. Do what God wants, to give thanks to God, but not to draw godliness down on the world, because the world will be like it was when the sea split, that there was nothing covering godliness. That's what King Solomon said, Se'ena Orena, go out and see. Se'ena, go out from all these garments, namely by means of the revelation of godliness. And that what King Solomon said, that's the crown that his mother crowned him. What does it mean? That the Ora Keter, that the light of the crown of God, by means of that, that's the essence of godliness, which has been concealed. That's what the sea is only the way to get to this. So when God split the sea, so he transformed the sea, transformed all this concealment, which is all the Alma Discasia, the concealed worlds, that everything became revealed. Then you don't have to have the garments. Then Torah and the commandments won't be necessary, and there'll still be Torah and the commandments, but it won't have the same function to remove the darkness and the confusion and the concealment, which mafsikim, which separates between man and the wisdom, the upper wisdom of God. Shaloni ten lahanot miyama chachma. Nowadays you can't get any pleasure except for by means of these garments. Umashal achutza, garments. Umashal, like we said, or an example. A mashal. The Torah is called a mashal. An example. Hachotzes beino beinayam, which separates between us and the sea. Like it says, like it says that Moses personally went inside of the cloud. He didn't need the commandments. He was directly aware of the essence of God. It says nowadays we have to have the commandments. It says Moses became aware of God because he went into a cloud. The cloud covered over a little bit of godliness. But when God transforms the sea to a dry land, and there was all the spiritual worlds transformed to be revealed, then you won't have to have any garments, you won't have to have any examples, but will be derech, there'll be a path, just like the dry land. Godliness will be everywhere. That's what it says. The Jewish people walked in the dry land on the sea. So we'll see, everyone will see and feel the obvious truth. Just like I know that I am alive, you're watching this class, you know you're alive, right? All the convincing I give you in the world, it's all psychological, and it's all just your imagination. It's all subjective, and it's all just you'll just say the man is out of his mind. I know that I exist. I know that I exist. Well, that's how sure and certain we will be that God exists, and even more so. And that's what it means. That which godliness is concealed from us, and all that's revealed to us is ourselves. In the future, it'll be that as much as we're revealed, we're sure that we exist, we'll be infinitely more sure that what is concealed from us now, namely the Creator, that He exists. We'll feel the creation. We'll feel that God is creating everything in the creation. It'll be the most obvious thing in the world. Perish, that's when in 6 days you should eat matzot. But on the 7th day, it's called a gathering day for God. Perish, mitzvot, it says matzot. Matzot with a vav. Matzot. 6 days you have to, this is the level of the matzah which is not salted. Simple humility. You don't understand anything. That's 6 days of humility. That's the level of the vav we said. Of the I'm sorry. That's matzah without a vav. I'm sorry. Let's do it again. Let's do this again. 6 days you should eat matzot. That's a matzah with a vav. That's when it's drawn down into the level of matzah that's not salted. Matzah without a vav. That's not salted. That's humility. In 6 days, you have to draw down this vav into your simplicity, matzot. That's what it means. So we said before, the vav, that's the salt. That's like the salt that brings down godliness. So the first day you eat matzah without a vav, simple humility. The other 6 days you're trying to draw down this vav, godliness, the vav, that's by means of the salt, into matzah. Only the first day of Passover is it for, you're not supposed to put salt on the matzah. But on the other days you can. And the same thing with us. This humility is good for a beginning, but you have to draw the vav into the humility, the godliness, the salt, and make it tasty. That's the 6 days. And then afterwards, in the 7th day, is even a higher level than the vav. That's when the sea split. That's the 7th day of Passover. That's when God split the sea, and that's the idea of atzeret l'Hashem Elokecha. That's what it means, that it is a gathering day for God, that God actually reveals himself on the 7th day of Passover. That's a hint at what's going to be in the future when the dead will raise. It says Az Yoshir. It says Az then in the future. It's a hint at the raising of the dead. That's what it means. After God himself, you will go in the sea. In other words, you won't have to have the garments. You won't need any commandments anymore. The commandments will not have the same function as to clear up the darkness and to reveal godliness. It'll already be revealed. The commandments will just be to do God's will. I know, like Rashi says, Hanotin biyom derech, the kai, this is talking about the splitting of Yam Suf. So what have we learned? We've learned that Judaism is dynamic. And the purpose of Judaism is like salt. That's the secrets of the Torah, to change the world, to enliven the world, to improve the world, to remove the darkness and the confusion and concealment of the truth. And that's the idea. That's done by that's done by doing the commandments and learning Torah with the secrets of the Torah in mind, that it's coming from the essence of God, the Torah and the commandments. But there's a goal, and the goal is that eventually God will remove this concealment. He'll remove the concealment, and we'll see the true purpose of the world, that every detail of the world will be exactly the way God wants it. Then it's going to be a whole different story. Then it's going to be a whole totally different existence. It's like the difference between dreaming and being awake. Right? Being a person that dreams, he has all sorts of dreams, stupid dreams and nice dreams, but there's nothing comes of it. As soon as a person becomes awake, it's a totally different reality. Totally different reality. Because that's the same thing. Now we're dreaming. And by means of the Torah and the commandments, it'll cause the whole entire world to wake up. And we'll see that God is infinitely better than what we thought, and he's creating us, and he's infinitely close. As we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. And now let's learn the speech of the Rebbe. Here we go. Speech of the Rebbe, 1 minute.